Alright everyone, Supreme Kami over here, and today's topic is going to be talking about which kind of parts do you guys use for your EX Ultra banner tickets over here. So I have already constructed like a list of like what kind of part that I think are going to be good. So we do have shot build, melee build, from head parts to the shot weaponry part. In terms of the shield, I'm just going to recommend the same old Cosmo shield in terms of like the actual front part or the main part you want to get. I don't really have like a good selection for you guys because I don't see any good potential within this overall roster. So that's why I was hesitant to even give out any recommendation. So if you guys are looking for what kind of shield are good, I'm simply just gonna say the Cosmo shield and that should be it. But in terms of what I want to do is just simply, just gonna go over a few of these parts. But before doing that, I do want to throw in a few disclaimers, just talk about stuff that I do want to get out ahead before moving onward. So in terms of this overall list, I think you guys should ignore it if there's like a certain part that you truly like. For aesthetic EXQ, I think you guys should definitely focus on those first, rather than chasing like the meta part, because all the parts that I am recommending right now are definitely some top meta part. Those are definitely gonna get you into the game with pretty good stats, power boosting, etc. right? And then another thing is in terms of what I'm recommending up here, so there are not going to be any EXQ base particularly, because I feel like for EXQ those are definitely something of a personal choice, so I don't really want to give any like put any of my personal feeling into like, oh, I like this certain EXQ because like I like the animation or I like the effects it's giving out or whatsoever, right? But generally speaking, in terms of EXQ, me personally, I do like all the cutscenes. I think those are fantastic. Maybe not a lot of people use like 4-3 EXQ to cutscenes, so that's kind of me. So if you guys are thinking differently, you guys can definitely pick your own EXQ. So that's why I'm not really recommending that. And then another disclaimer is that I'm not going to be recommending any portrait that are following by EXQ cooldown reduced by a set amount percentage, because I feel like those parts does take a long time to get them up and running, because it's either you have 0% or you're at 100%, right? Having like a middle ground for those EXQ reduced build, it's just not going to be too good. You're not really taking that full potential of having that instantly recharging EXQ after executing. So that's why I'm not going to be recommending that. So those are purely going to be for I want to leave that to the standard part selection. I think they have great tons of build selection. You guys can definitely go for that under the alteration page yourself. And then last but not least, I do want to talk about in terms of if you guys have any L badges for any of the double 40% trade parts, those are definitely going to be some hot picks for sure. Or if you have any L badges for any big scale parts in particular, like something that are big scale that I have listed up here, maybe the Quibbly, Zeta Gundam, double enhanced double Zeta, those are definitely going to be some hot pickers in terms of getting your kind of exchange for those parts, because big scale are definitely going to be like the biggest monster in game. They are going to be, I will have to say, longevity, just because they do have access to so many good stat contribution, for example. So those are going to be a few of my disclaimer before going in. So in terms of what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to quickly go into some of the parts that why I'm picking some of these parts. I think these are definitely going to be top of this class, in terms of head part for. So what I did, I also did include 3 different options up here. So depending what kind of portrait or tag you guys are looking at, so they will simply fit whatever you guys are looking for. Alright, so moving forward over here, so in terms of roster, we are only up to a certain amount of numbers over here, so that's why the P attribute Zabanya Gundam is going to be the first thing we're going to talk about. So in terms of Zabanya, I feel like the head part is definitely very good, so it has some pretty good vortex already, and then also does have a pretty good first initial vortex or a portrait, so that's why I am recommending this over here. So with a proper alteration, you will be able to access another 40% trade. That's why I am recommending that. In terms of the Wing Zero TV version, I am recommending that simply because of the fact that that one does have access to a what does this one have? So this one has some initial charge boosting, so that's why I think it's going to be good in terms of trying to get your first time EXQ executed as soon as possible. So that's why it's going to be good word tag as well, so no complaints on that. And then up next we do have, let's say, what do we have? I think is somewhere, oh, second V. So I think second V head acts very similarly to, let's say, the Zabanya, but in terms of this one is simply going to be a little bit more of a different type of build. So this one is going to be revolving around a high firepower build with an ace exclusive, so that's why it's pretty good. So definitely give you guys a few kind of like a different opinion right there. So in terms of shot, the head part and then the range weapon are definitely going to be the 2 most important parts to be looking at. So those are definitely going to be part that I am going to be exclusively talking about. And then then for melee build, the arm and then the melee weapon. So those are probably going to be the part that I'm going to be touching. And then as for any of the other part, you guys can definitely go ahead and just kind of look at it yourself. So some abbreviation that I went ahead and done for the melee weapon. So the one I have for BS, those are simply for beam saber. So yeah, so I don't want to make any kind of confusion for you guys. And then for the TGF over here, so this one is going to be for your Tologies F over here. So made that short acronym right there. So hopefully I did not confuse you guys along that process with her. So in terms of the shot weaponry over here, for shots specifically, I feel like we only have a few candidates that are, I will have to say, stand out among the most. So we have, let's see, where is it? Oh, we got the Amazon Prime Gundam over here. So I think this one is a very good weaponry after its alteration. So without alteration, this one is only going to be stacking up to a 30%. So why am I recommending this one over here? Because if you guys are able to get the L badges, let's say maybe in the near future, for example, with a good proper alteration, you will be able to unlock a portrait that is giving out some buff EX effects. So let me see. So this one with a proper alteration, you will be able to get a buff EX effects up by 15%, maxing out at 30%. So if you guys are able to get the L badges, or if you guys do already have the L badges for the A to C Gundam, this is going to be a very powerful ranged weapon to be getting. So that's that. And then in terms of Lightning Zeta Gundam, and then in terms of the second V, so those are going to be more of like a retrospective version of it. So one is going to be simply boosting Gundam type, while the other one is simply going to be boosting a high firepower. So that's why I do want to make a little bit of a, you know, different choices for you guys over there, depending what kind of build you guys are looking at. So let me go ahead and talk about this, what is it, the Lightning Zeta. So this one is going to be boosting attack attributes. So okay, so it looks like the initial war tag or the portrait is not really boosting, it's not recommending you to use a Gundam type, or it's not setting the condition for that. But with a proper alteration, I believe the condition is you have to be running as a Gundam type. So even the war tag is suggesting that, so that's why this is going to be for a different build right there. And then if we go over to the second V over here, so second V, we are going to be looking at the Mega Beam Canon. So this one is simply outright is starting out with a high firepower, and then with a proper alteration, this one is not giving out a double 40% trait. With the proper alteration, this one is will be giving out a initial charge boost by a 25%. So that's why this one is a very versatile ranged weapon if you talk about with the proper alteration. So that is going to be pretty much it in terms of the ranged weaponry side over here. So that's why hip part are going to be as follow, shot the ranged weapon are going to be as follow, and then any of these part over here does have a pretty good double 40% trait already. So that's that. There is another disclaimer I do want to throw ahead. In terms of the Tologies F range or the melee weapon, it is going to be a little bit hard in terms of getting it to kind of fit into build, because it is going to be a lance category. So I will have to say for lance category, there's just not a lot of good sub-slotting. So you guys may be suffering slightly in terms of that, but it does have a pretty good 40% trait, some pretty universal war tags. So that's why I think you guys can definitely make a good use of that. So now going over to the melee aspect of it. So in terms of the overall roster that we're giving over here, I mean, like, it's not that good actually, because there's certainly a better batch of melee unit that is yet to be on this roster. So that is going to be the unfortunate factor. So in terms of the melee arm, I think the only one that really stands out at the moment, you know, that is not part of the list, is only going to be the XN double riser. Even like any of these you look up here, there's not that good, because they're simply not giving out that premium 40% double 40% trait. So that's why I'm not really recommending that. And this one I would not recommend either. So so the XN risers definitely going to be the better one to be looking at, because this one does give a double 40% trait with a proper alteration. So that's why this is a fairly good one to be, you know, kind of recommending. Then up next, in terms of melee weapon, we do actually have a few that I'm not listing out here. So in terms of this one over here, I can actually include it to here as well, because this one is a pretty good double 40% trait as well. So that's why I should have added on here as well. But in terms of what we're looking at, so let me see this one. So this one again is going to be one of those that you do need a proper alteration, because this one is only going to be giving out a 30%, well, instead of a 40% trait. Reason being, this one is going to be one of those melee weapon that is giving out a buff EX effects. So where are we looking at? Alright, So all right, so this is gonna be right here. So if you guys do have the L badges, this is gonna be a very powerful melee weapon to be looking at, because this one is gonna be giving a buff EX skill effects up by 30%. So this is why this is gonna be a very good melee weapon to be getting. So that's that. And then up next, we are going to be talking about the Beam Saber, the Cold Storm's Beam Saber. I think that one to this day is still holding up very well. So I believe the Cold Storm is one of the earlier melee weapon and it's still holding up pretty good. Okay, so it's going to be this one. So in terms of Beam Saber, it's definitely a very versatile, just kind of like a melee weapon, because in terms of Beam Saber specifically, or the Saber category, there's just a lot of good subsetting, so I don't think there's any good potential of like not having a good subset for this one. So that's that. You know, this one, while close combat, melee power boost by 40%, so that's why it's good. And then last but not least, I do want to talk quickly about touch bases on what the Tologi's F is in here. I think it's right here. So the Tologi's F, it is going to be under a lance category. So in terms of subsetting wise, it is going to be a little bit harder. So that's why I don't know if this is even like a good recommendation for you guys over here. So this one, never mind. I thought this was like an actual 40% trade. So never mind that. I think I mistook this one, the double 40% trade, with his actual ranged weaponry. So this is going to be another Tologi's F parts over here. Simply for the shot department. So this one, as looks like, it's giving out that initial charge boosting, so that's why this one is a very good one to be looking at as well. So pretty good melee stat already, so that's why this is a pretty much a good recommendation for you guys as well. So with that being said, that is all I'm gonna talk about in terms of some good part trade that you guys should be kind of focusing on. You guys can definitely feel free to look at all the other parts that I have not kind of talked about. Those I think all of them does have good 40% trade, either 40% trade slash a initial charge boost by 25% or whatsoever. Those are going to be some parts that I would be recommending. Do let me know if there's any part that I have missed on the roster. And then with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it. And then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.